And
You've been warned.
you've been warned. Steve, hi.
Gayle, what is the great word? I don't have to yell anymore because I have the microphone.
That's right. We can talk softly and carry a big voice.
And do it intelligently still.
That's right.
All right, so we're live and we're recording our very first episode of a podcast.
And I'm starting the countdown. So it's 11:11, and this is what we're going to do. 11 minutes of coming to you with some content, and then 11 minutes to answer questions. And we have a great question to ask today and to answer.
And it's a very common question, and that's what makes it very prevalent to anybody that's listening. And that's what we want to do. We want to deliver to the universe. We want to be able to share our experiences. This podcast we had titled Party at the Summit. And Party at the Summit came about through a mastermind conversation we were having with some incredible minds that we both know and love and care and trust. And so we've been through this journey through the pandemic, through the COVID, and we've made a lot of alterations and modifications with how we move our body, how we think, what we believe, the stories we tell ourselves. And there's this end result that we've all experienced. And it feels like that we're at the peak of a mountain. And the metaphor is that we don't peak. There's several different summits that we're going to be climbing and achieving and becoming through the experiences that we go through. And this summit that we're at right now is just one of many that we're going to be able to, celebrate in our lifetime. So this is an honor, and it's an absolute privilege to be able to start this with episode 1 and talking about things that matter to the people who care. And I think that's important for people to understand is we just want to be able to have the conversations that Gayle and I have on a very regular basis. And so if we were recording the conversations and the amount of content and the takeaways and the ahas that we were having in just simple daily interactions, we would probably have podcast episodes for a year. However, we want to make this a little more intentional and feed off of what you're taking away from it, because everybody's going to take away something different that they're willing to take away. So with that, welcome.
Yes,
welcome to the podcast.
And go ahead.
I was going to introduce myself because, there's going to be people on your page that don't know me, and there's going to be people that I'm going to share this and they won't know you. So, my name is Steve Trezek. I've been a health coach, fitness coach, lifestyle coach, transformational coach for the better part of over 2 decades. And I've been very fortunate and privileged to assist, serve, coach, guide, I don't know how many people, thousands of people into their greatest, best versions of themselves. And I'm passionate about people living in their best body to the greatest of their potential. It's not my potential. There's no comparison. It's merely, I choose to meet you where you're at. And then from there, we grow forward. So people have claimed me as the mind and body architect. I'm okay with that. Building bodies, building minds, and getting people, freeing themselves from themselves, essentially.
And
so that's
I wrote that down because you said that the other day as something. And yes, that's exactly what you do, Steve. You help people free themselves from themselves. And it's an inside out job, which I've been a very studious student over the past 14 months since you started the transformation method. And so for those of you who don't know me with Steve, my name is Gayle Zientek. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother. I'm 61 years young, and I'm living my best life because I met Steve October 1st, 2019, when our worlds came together, and you've added so much value to my life to help me become the passionate, caring. I've always been passionate and caring human being, but strong and healthy and fit. And people are asking me all the time, like, what are you doing? And there's so much more to that. There's so much that the answer to that question is so deep and so many layers. And that's why we're doing this podcast, Party at the Summit. We don't peak. The first time you said that, Steve, and, picturing you're climbing that mountain, and you think of athletes, and people always say, oh, they're at their peak. They're at their peak. Well, what happens when you peak? You start heading downward. And like the philosophy that we've gained is we don't peak because we're always climbing. There's always another summit to reach for, to go for. And that's why we're here. So I'm just learning to live the best, healthiest version of my life in my 60s. And that's just to say that it's never too late. It's never too late, and you're never too out of shape, because your past life doesn't dictate what your future holds for you, unless you choose
Unless
to
you're
stay
still living
there.
in it.
Unless you choose to stay
Unless you're still
there.
living in it. And, going back, and we're going to have an entire podcast, I believe, on just letting go to let in. And too often we sit there and we say, all right, well, I want to get healthier. I want to be fit. I want to have more energy. I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I want all these things. And they look at it from a perspective of, well, God, there's so much work involved. Like it's so daunting to think about that. But the real challenge is internally is that we're carrying baggage with us. And we start up this mountain and we start this climb and think about that mountain again. And we're carrying this backpack, and this backpack has 60, 70, 80, 100 pounds of past, of stories and beliefs and thoughts, and, all of what 2020 carried, from COVID, and, wearing masks, and all the things that people were very vocal about. And they still carry that to this day. And that prevents them, that paralyzes them from actually growing, because they're still carrying this extra weight with them. And we want to be able to release that. We want to be able to just sort of one step at a time, just break that out, break it down, so that you can release that baggage and start living your best, healthiest, most abundant life. And people are going to learn about us along the way. We're going to do a podcast every week, and we're going to be telling personal stories. We're going to be sharing our family. I mean, I have 2 amazing children. I have a beautiful wife, and you'll hear stories, and I'll share things with you that are going to resonate with you, I trust. But let's talk about, because I want to quite literally start with transformation. And what is transformation? Because too often I see it all the time like that. I'm very observant. And that's one of the skills I have, is I just will be able to look, assess, and then I can diagnose and really start peeling back layers like an onion. And we work backwards. We work backwards from a place where we're trying to change and alter ourselves from the outside in instead of the inside out. And so really, what is transformation? And I want to keep this very timely, because this is the foundation. This is the catalyst for what we're going to be discussing. If you're looking for the things to do, then this may not be the podcast for you, because we know what we need to do. We're not doing what we know. And that's on you. That's not on us. We want to give you the empowerment. We want you to have the courage. We want you to gain your power back so that you can do those things. But where does that really come from? Like, what is transformation? And I've defined transformation as simply a thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance. And the reason why people rarely ever experience this type of change, or we'll call transformation, is because they don't know how to make that change from the inside out. They've been conditioned, they've been taught, they've learned that in order to achieve something, we have to go do more things. How has that worked out for you? How has that really been? How many times have you got excited and motivated to go start that workout program, or go prep those foods and eat the foods that you know you should be eating, and being on a regimented nutrition plan, only to find out or to discover that 5 days, a week, 3 weeks, you're back to the same habits again? It's not coincidence. It's because your results that you have or don't have are a direct reflection of you and who you're being. So, Gayle, we came up with a transformation equation. And would you mind sharing what that is And how can the listeners benefit from that and start taking their mind to a more internal place and start taking themselves to what real transformation could mean in their life?
Well, the transformation equation, again, in our powerful mastermind session on December 20th, 2020, we came up with R times C squared plus T is greater than S. And so to break that down, the R represents responsibility. And we all have to take ownership and responsibility every day for who we are and what we choose to do in this one life we're given. And the C is C squared. So the first C is for being committed. If you don't commit to what you're choosing to be or who you're choosing to become, you're not going to get there. It takes commitment. And surprisingly, what we teach is it's not big, hairy, audacious things that we have to do. It's the small things that we do every day. And that leads to the other C, which is consistency. Doing the things that you know you should be doing consistently, being committed to it and doing it consistently over time is going to be greater than your success. Your success is always chasing you. And so, there's our 11 minutes. So I'm going to just take a couple, maybe another minute to share. In Mexico last week on vacation with my family, success was chasing me. And what I mean by that is I was climbing these zip line towers with little effort. Now, the person I was 16 months ago who didn't work out and didn't move my body would have had a difficult time doing that task. My success showed up because of the commitment and the responsibility and the consistency I've had over the last 14 months. So we talk a lot about the transformation equation because it's simple, but it's not easy. It's going to take you some commitment, consistency, and time. But I'm guaranteeing you that your success is going to follow you. It's going to show up by you being that person that's committed, being that person who's consistent, giving yourself time. Your success will follow you. So, Steve, the second half of our podcast, 11:11. So at 11:11, and it's 11 minutes in, we have a question, and we want to welcome those of you to share your questions with us. If you have questions, send us messages on social media, ask your questions. But here's one that we get most often, and it's, what do I need to do to transform? Steve, what do I need to do? How do I do it? Who do I like? How? What do I need to do? Tell me,
Well,
please.
it's interesting because that question has been so prevalent and so common over the last year. And it's really because of great inspiring humans of possibility like yourself, Gail, because you have been living a certain way over the last year and a half. And you started your health journey 3 years ago. And it wasn't until it started clicking that it wasn't about the doing. It was about the being and who you need to choose to be. So we get it all the time. I get it several times a day. Hey, Steve, just tell me, come on, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to start getting fit? Because I'm tired of putting on my swim shorts for the first time this summer and I got cottage cheese in the legs. I mean, they get very graphic, they get very detailed, but that's their interpretation of the experience that they're having. You've been getting that question a lot, right? Hey, Gail, what are you doing? What is your secret? What is it that you're doing that's producing the results you're having? And so the question really comes down to, it's not about what you're doing, it's about who you need to become. And the doing is only going to be as effective as the being that is doing the doing. So this question directly correlates to our transformation equation. So if you haven't taken the opportunity, I'm going to encourage you to do so now. Write down that equation. If you're listening to this or if you're watching this on a platform that you can visually see us, I could write it on the whiteboard, but we're going to keep talking through it. R times C squared plus T is greater than S. So Gayle just explained that R is responsibility. Take 100% responsibility for what your desired outcome is going to be. C is going to be commitment, your level of commitment, and then the other C is going to be consistency. Plus T, time. Putting in the sets and the reps, time on task over time, is greater than S. Well, why isn't it equal? Isn't every equation equal to something? Not in our equation, because this equation, success can mean anything to you. It's going to mean something different to everybody that's going to watch this. There is no one size fits all to their success. And success is not something, as Gayle was alluding to, success is not something that you pursue. Success is something that you attract by the person that you're being. And success to me is just a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And I read that over 10 years ago from Earl Nightingale. And it just stuck with me. I said, you know what? It's a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Meaning that when you know where you're going and you know what that success looks like to you, and you're working on it every day through being responsible, being committed with consistency, and being patient, hence the time, you're always going to be ahead of your success because you're attracting it by the person you're becoming or being. So when you ask, hey, what are the things that I need to do to get what I want? The question I have is, who are you willing to be? Because you have a success code built in you. Every single one of us listening to this, we have a success code built into us. And what I mean by that is, look at a place in your life right now where you are in your definition successful. Where are you? Is it your relationship? Is it your marriage? Is it your business? Is it the relationship with your kids? Is it your spiritual presence on this planet? You have a certain characteristic which has allowed you, characteristics, plural, because there's several that can be. And that's just touching a few of them. I mean, I'm not talking about personal integrity yet, or most people just know it as integrity. Personal integrity is going to be our next episode, actually. And why we can't even talk about transformation. We can't even have a discussion about transformation without talking about integrity first. That's not including discipline, and maybe it's organizational skills. I mean, there's hundreds of them. But we, again, keeping it simple. The transformation equation is just, where are you putting your attention? We are where our attention is. So the question of, what do I need to do? You know what you need to do. You're not doing what you know. Because if you're showing up to this conversation or this podcast and you're like, hey, I'm here to start learning the things to do, we're going to go over that. Like, we're going to discuss what are some of the tactical strategies and ways of doing things. But if you don't have a deeper foundation of having a greater sense of commitment, like non-negotiable commitment, how do you know that your commitment to what you desire to have is non-negotiable? Gayle, how do you know that it is a non-negotiable commitment?
Well, when I started out with making a commitment to move my body 2% of the day, 30 minutes every day, I made that a commitment. And when it became easy to, like the levels of consciousness, don't think, don't do, you think and you don't do, you think about it and do it. So I was thinking about it and doing it. Hence it's become level 4, where I don't even have to think about it. I just do it now. And it's a non-negotiable. Like, I get up in the morning and I knock out my 30-minute body weight workout with Beverly or whoever shows up, or even I don't care if anybody shows up. It's just, it's non-negotiable. I'm going to do it myself. And so for me, drinking water, hydrating. Like there's mornings I want to just have a cup of coffee, but no, I've made a promise to myself that I'm going to drink 20 ounces of water before I have my first cup of coffee. And so to me, it's a non-negotiable. And I'll find myself arguing with myself. Oh, well, just go. Oh, that coffee's fresh. It smells so great. Your husband's having a cup of coffee. Just like, why do you have to drink 20 ounces? Because you said you were going to drink 20 ounces of water first. And so to me, some of the life rules that I've created for myself, I've made them non-negotiable. And we're at our 2-minute warning, Steve. So I just wanted to let you know, that's, we said something in one of our classes just this last week, and it was, you asked us to all write this down. And I think it's really important and pertinent to this call is my life is a direct reflection of me. So those of you who are listening to this and you look in the mirror every day and what you see in the mirror is a direct reflection of who you are being. And if you want to choose to change that reflection that you see, that's up to you. That's up to you. And it's possible. I want you to know that I am inspiring possibilities, that if I can do this, you can do it too. It just takes commitment, consistency, and time on task.
Yeah. And much of what we want to encompass here in our dialogue is the awareness. People don't know what they don't know. But if they start learning and discovering that their ways of being are going to be the epicenter of what they're going to be doing, then we can put our attention to where is going to be the biggest driver. And here's how I define, and I just want to say this because it might land on somebody the right way. A non-negotiable commitment to me is that it's not open for discussion. It is already done. Like last night, I got my commitment of running 1 mile. I started at 9 o'clock at night. It was already dark. It was a long day. I had softball practice. I had a full day of work and content creating, and 9 o'clock at night, usually I'm like unwinding. I'm going to bed at that time. But guess what? I didn't get my run in. Non-negotiable. It wasn't up for discussion. Put my gym shoes on and I went after dinner on a full stomach. It wasn't pleasant, but guess what?
It got done.
It got done
Yeah.
because it was a non-negotiable commitment to myself. So, time.
Time.
So here's what I like to do. I like to leave each podcast with a transformational takeaway, something that you can just sort of sit in, try on, think about, marinate in, resonate with. And my transformational takeaway here is going to be, if you think and you continue to think that you're going to change your life, or even the quality of your life, your health, your relationships, your business, you're going to change those things from the outside, continuing to seek more to do without taking an internal reflection of who you're being. That is self-deception. And you're really just fooling yourself. And we want to make this so that you're investing less energy and you're being the person that you need to be, so that you can start doing the things that you need to do, so you can start having the things that you want in this one valuable quality life. And I say this from time to time, but I think this might fit really well in here. We have to stop acting like we live life twice. This is the one opportunity we have. And this life that we're living right now is not a rehearsal for another one. Some might believe that. I mean, I think there is some sense of reincarnation, but this is the one we're experiencing in these moments. So, Gayle, thanks for the opportunity. And I know this is just the beginning of many. And I would love to know what some of the takeaways are from the listeners.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know what questions you have. We'll be here every Thursday at 11:11 Eastern Standard Time to just share our thoughts, our ideas, and allow you to take away something that you can apply to your life to make it better.
All right. Well, if you're ready to go,
Say, let's go.
let's go and make it a day worth repeating.